You show up, you put in the work, you're consistent, you're going to do it. Anyone listening to this podcast has the ability to do it, because this podcast is all about getting after it. And I know you can do it. Well, I'm back. I apologize for being a little bit slow to upload. I've been sick, and you might hear it in this episode in my voice. My throat's a little scratchy, but that's okay. Still got to get it done. And I've been really busy at work. It's the end of the year, so trying to close a lot of deals, getting after it in all aspects of my life. But I still need to get after it in this. Still got to record my episodes and get the podcast out there. So appreciate everyone being a little bit, flexible as I, not harping down my throat, being like, wait, where's the episode? All that kind of stuff. Anyways, I was debating what I was going to talk about today and trying to figure out what would be the best use of my time in order to come up with an episode that provided some value. And I actually, because I've been sick, I'm still training for my marathon, and because I've been busy, still got to show up for work. And so I'm running today. I had a little half marathon as my training run. But as I was doing it, as I was sitting there contemplating what to talk about, it kind of hit me. It was like a flood, and I was like, boom, that's it. That's my topic. But it's the fact that you have to show up every single day to achieve your goals. And we'll jump into what that means, at least to me. But you have to show up every single day, and you have to put your best foot forward. And especially in the beginning, and whenever you start something, you have to give it your all. You got to go all in. I love that that quote, just be all in. It's advice that I've heard so many times from different mentors that I've had, whether that be advice about marriage, advice about my profession, about fitness, anything. If you want to commit to achieving something, you have to go all in, and you can't be afraid of what that means. Because if you're going to spend time trying to achieve something, you might as well be giving it your best effort. And the first way to give your best effort is to show up and start. And I want to start off with a story about Atomic Habits. So that is a book from James Clear. If you're not familiar with it, or if you haven't had the chance to read it, I'd strongly suggest it. It gives very practical tips and tricks about how you can change your life, really, and improve your situations, improve your scenario, whatever you want to say. But if you're looking to make a change in your life, start small. And I would agree with that. And so I would say, if you want to be all in on something, start small. Just start developing the habit. And in the book Atomic Habits, he gives this example of someone who's morbidly obese, but wants to make a change and wants to be known as someone who has the habit of going to the gym and exercising and being that person that, there's no question oh yeah, well, that person goes to the gym every day. And so he wanted to start that. He wanted to be that person, but recognizing that that was going to be a challenge, it's going to be hard to just automatically start going to the gym every single day. He didn't really put a time limit on it. He just had this idea where he said, okay, I'm going to go to the gym every single day. And that's it. So it could be for 30 seconds. It could be for 5 minutes, or it could be an hour. But in the book, he talks about how the guy just started going to the gym. He'd walk in, and then usually he'd walk out. So this guy's habit was super high level, but the entire thing was he wanted to just prove to himself that he had the ability to just start going to the gym. And he did. And he was successful at it. And eventually he progresses in the story to where he lost a bunch of weight. He started feeling a lot healthier. By no means was this guy a bodybuilder or an endurance athlete or anything like that, but he was making small improvements in his life, and he wanted to change. And there's a lot of power, I think, in this story because you can apply it to literally anything you want to do. So let's take that example and flip it to you. And maybe you are someone who wants to start going to the gym a little bit more consistently, but you just don't know what to do when you get there, or you don't know what specific training plan that you should be doing. And so that could be just a place to start. Just start going. And you can observe other people around you. You can just go in, maybe hit a sauna session, walk on the treadmill, whatever. But keep it high level and don't put too much pressure on it. Because oftentimes I feel like if we want to achieve something in our lives, we start too strong out of the gate, and that can lead to burnout very fast. So if you are someone who wants to go to the gym more and you're like, okay, I'm going to spend 2 hours there. I'm going to go through this entire HIIT workout, this high intensity interval training workout. I'm going to lift hella weights. I'm going to do all these things. And you just stick with it for a week. And all of a sudden you're like, man, if this is how my body feels after just doing this, I don't think I can keep up with it. Which eventually leads to burnout, which eventually leads to you losing that habit and progresses in negative self-talk. So I think there's a lot of danger in just going right out the gate. I know I talk a lot about marathon training, but the reason I talk about running so much on this podcast is it's such a good metaphor for life, in my opinion. Running is one of the best metaphors for life because it's always difficult. It's never easy. You have to stay consistent. There's going to be days when you don't want to do it. You don't want to train. But if you don't stick with it, then maybe you let 4 days go and you have another run coming up. That run's going to be way harder than if you just showed up every single day and just put forth your best effort. Today was one of those days for me. Like I said, I'm a little bit sick. I'm not feeling the best, but I looked at my schedule and it said, you got 13 miles you got to run today. And in my head, I'm like, well, I, again, know what I signed up for. I know what it takes to do what I want to do. And if that's what I want, if that's the goal that I have for myself, then by all means, I'm going to show up my best every single day and at least give it a shot. So I did it today. I went into the gym and it was raining, so I wasn't going to run outside. But again, that makes it a little bit more difficult. Like I'm going to have to do a 13 miler on a treadmill. Damn. Like you better have some good entertainment, because otherwise running on a treadmill for 13 miles is pretty tough in my opinion. You get a little bored sometimes. That's the thing though, is I'm dedicated to my goal. I know what it takes to achieve a sub-3 marathon because I've learned from other people. I've recognized that a lot of work and effort is going to have to go into this if I want to be successful, which means showing up, which means trying my best, even if I don't feel like I want to. And that's what I want you to understand is no matter what you're doing in your life, just try your best, because there's going to be days when you don't perform the way that you wanted to. Today I was slow on my run. I don't care. I still got the miles in. And there's going to be days, maybe, let's say, let's take work, for example. There's going to be days when you're motivated. You're feeling good. You're finding some success. And then boom, a little roadblock comes up. How are you going to respond? What are you going to be doing to maintain that motivation and rely on yourself to just be disciplined enough to show up? Discipline is showing up when you don't want to, and discipline is hard to come by. It takes a lot of effort to be disciplined these days, just because, we get things so easy, and discipline works wonders. I'll go down I'll die on the hill of discipline, because I will preach it until I die. there's so much power in just learning about yourself and making the effort to just be dedicated to whatever you're trying to accomplish. So just keep that in mind. But one thing that I've been thinking about too is like, I think often when we try and reach certain goals in our life, we want them to happen overnight. We want things just to come easy to us. And that could be because of our culture. That could be because of a wide variety of factors. But I don't think that you really want to be an overnight success because you don't understand. Let's say like you want to be a millionaire. Everyone wants to have money, right? Everyone wants to be comfortable. And if you were just given $1 million overnight, you would not value it as much as you would if you had to work every single day to achieve that. I've talked a lot about Chris Williamson on this podcast, and he nails it on the head with this quote. He says, "We shouldn't wish for overnight success, as we would then need to be able to beat it pretty soon, lest we feel like we're declining. Instead, slow, consistent progress is a more reliable way to maintain satisfaction. Purposefully aiming for a slow success strategy may actually ensure you always feel like you're going in the right direction." End quote. I love what he says. And I've talked so much. I've talked to my wife, Allie, about this concept so many times, and it's kind of annoying, but he's right. Like, once you achieve a certain level, you have to feel like you have to push yourself and reach whatever's next. And so going back to my conversations with Allie, one thing we were talking about the other day is like, I hate this, but I know that as soon as I run a sub-3 marathon, I'm going to have to find what's next. And I already have. I found what's next. There's this ultra marathon that's at the end of July that I'm going to go for. It's a 50K, so it's just a starter, which is 30 miles. But the difference between an ultra marathon and just a regular marathon is it's mostly trails. So you're going over rocks, you're going over trees, you're climbing elevation, going down elevation. It's a lot more of a, I would say, all day event rather than just a marathon. It's just a race. And of course the ultra is a race too, but to the point, like, that's what's next. The bar's been raised and that's what I have to go achieve. And to Chris's point, like, let's say you were given $1 million overnight, then you'd feel like you were declining pretty quick if you weren't making more money and you were just spending what you were given. And I think there's a lot of danger to that, like I mentioned. So you have to just figure out what goals that you have. You have to realize what it's going to take to get there, and then be the person that shows up every day with a good attitude and gives them all their effort to be the best that they can be. Even on the days when you're not feeling up to it, even on the days when, maybe you're feeling discouraged. I will tell you this. If you're ever feeling discouraged about any goal that you're achieving in life and you still show up and get it done, you're going to have a little bit more self-confidence because you're like, oh, well, even on the days that I know I don't feel good, I'm the person that shows up and gets shit done. That's me. And you should take a lot of confidence in that because that's what getting after it's all about. It's just setting the bar a little bit higher for yourself every single day and doing what you can to meet that bar, doing what you can to put in the work, put in the effort, and try to become the person that you know you can be. That's what getting after it is. It's nothing crazy. It's pretty simple, but it's an important concept. And you have to be able just to be willing to commit. So commitment is important. Consistency, I would argue, is more important. Because if you commit to something, awesome, great. Hey, I'm gonna go and lose 30 pounds. I'm committed to it. But you got to be consistent. You have to just understand what's going to go into that goal. And I hope that's not like anything to scare someone away. But I would say this: if you do have a goal and you want to achieve something in your life, you should probably do the exercise of understanding every step that it's going to take to get there. So being strong in, whatever you're passionate about, you got to do it. Nick Bear, who's an endurance athlete, he's a business owner, someone who I really look up to in terms of that sense and all the other things. But he says this: endurance is an outcome forged by those who are wise enough to endure the process. I'm going to say it again because there's a quick quote, and I don't want you to miss this one. Endurance is an outcome forged by those who are wise enough to endure the process. So what does that mean? What does that tell you? It means that the people who are going to be achieving their goals and enduring well are the people who understand that, exactly what we're talking about. There's going to be days that suck. There's going to be days when you're feeling good, but you still have to endure that entire process and become the person that you're hoping to. You have to understand that it is a process. And if you can endure it, and by all means, you're going to achieve your goal. It's just a matter of time. You just have to keep doing it. You have to show up. And it sounds easy. It's a lot harder than you think, because this other person, his name's Lane Norton. He says the magic you are looking for is in the work you are attempting to avoid. And so for me, today, going back to my run, I didn't want to do it. I actually just kind of hung out this morning for a little bit, and I was like, do I actually feel up to running? Maybe I don't have to do it. But the magic that I was looking for, which was achieving that 13-mile goal, was in the work that I was attempting to avoid. I was looking at my shoes not really feeling up to it, stretching a little bit, using a massage gun, just procrastinating is really what it was. But as soon as I confronted the work and I was like, you know what, this is the goal, this is what I got to do, I'm just going to go do it. Then I achieved that magic that Lane talks about. You just got to be able to understand yourself well enough to keep going and find opportunities to grow and learn and get better. So, that's what I would say is no matter who you are, everyone has goals. And no matter who you are, you can achieve those goals. You just have to set up yourself for success. Set up the process, or set up your life around those goals to achieve it, right? So, easy example of this is going back to the guy who's like, I'm going to lose weight and going to the gym every single day. Another thing he could be doing is meal prepping. So having meals in the fridge ready for him to eat and just taking care of that aspect of his life. Because if he wants to lose weight, he's got to eat better. Just making an assumption here. But plan your life to achieve that goal. So have steps set in place. One thing that I do for my runs is the night before, I always put my clothes out just so I wake up, put it on. I have my shaker cup that's got my electrolytes in it. I'll have my energy gels ready to rock. But it's all right there, so I don't have to think about it. I just go grab it and boom, I'm off. It takes 30 seconds the night before, but I'm setting up my life so all these steps are in place to where I can achieve the goals that I want to. And that's really it. Is you have to understand what goes into the process, or what goes into the goal that you want to achieve. You have to understand that it's a process. You have to be willing to endure it. You have to be willing to show up every single day, and you will achieve your goals. No one that I've ever met in my life who hasn't been willing to endure has never not reached their goals. Everyone does. It's just a matter of time. I tell that advice oh yeah, it's just a matter of time. I tell it to everybody. My friend who just ran a half marathon, going from 0 to half marathon in 4 months. He would come up to me and complain and be like, oh man, my joints are hurting. My muscles have never been this sore. I don't know if I can do it. And I was like, dude, if you just keep showing up every day, if you keep training, you keep putting your best foot forward, quite literally in that sense, it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time if you're willing to endure the process. So I want to leave you all with just like a question to think about is just what can you be doing better to set up your life, set up your day for success, to reach your goal and make your life easier? And what can you be doing better to endure the process? That could be an attitude change. That could be getting a little bit more serious about this goal, whatever it is. But spend some time reflecting. Write down your goal and understand. Here's what I would do. I'd write down your goal, write down the steps that you know you need to take in order to get there, and then figure out what you can be doing differently to simplify your life and make it a little bit easier for yourself. And it's just a matter of time from that point. You show up, you put in the work, you're consistent, you're going to do it. Anyone listening to this podcast has the ability to do it because this podcast is all about getting after it. And I know you can do it. So if you don't have confidence in yourself, just know that I do. I got confidence in you. You can do hard things. I live my life on that concept of you can do hard things. Anybody can. Even if you haven't done them before, start today. Do something difficult, something that scares you. So until that point, everybody, I appreciate you listening. Thanks for being patient on this episode. But until the next one, everybody just keep getting after it.